In the top stories, Dennis Michael Morton deputizes while Governor General Sir Tapley Seaton is away. Renal Failure Disease Prevention and Control Project to begin this month. And Atlas Plantation Inn closes down for renovation. The details on these stories and more after the break. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. I'm Carla Barrage. Dennis Michael Morton, CBE JP, is serving as Governor General's deputy during the brief absence of His Excellency, the Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis, Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG, CVO QCJP, from the Federation. The Governor General traveled to the United States on Monday and is scheduled to return on Thursday to resume his duties as head of state. His Excellency the Governor General administered the oath of office and the oath of allegiance to Mr. Morton on Thursday, March 30th, 2017. Mr. Morton has deputized in the past in the absence of the Governor General. Previously, Mr. Morton was administered the requisite oaths on Thursday, October 8, 2015, and again on Tuesday, March 15, 2016, at Government House in the presence of members of his immediate family, including his wife, Mrs. Cynthia Morton. The Renal Failure Disease Control and Prevention Project is expected to begin this month, offering better health care to patients of chronic non-communicable diseases, particularly kidney failure. On Monday, project manager Feng Tasai arrived in the Federation to oversee the proceedings and paid a courtesy call on Minister of Health, Honorable Eugene Hamilton. Minister Hamilton welcomed Mr. Sai and noted that he is quite pleased that the program will begin. The health minister gave a brief overview of what the project entails.
It will involve training of our people. It will involve our point of service being brought to the level where we can test the persons who are at risk in our health centers. They can do that testing. It's important to know that. Therefore, our persons who are out there should not fail to have themselves tested where necessary to determine whether they are candidates for renal failure. You are aware that hemodialysis can cost an individual in St. Kitts and Nevis more than $120,000 a year.
He added that over the last 20 years, the number of persons who have some stage of renal disease has moved from 0 to more than 100. Taiwan's resident ambassador to St. Kitts and Nevis, His Excellency George Galway Shu, expressed his government's delight in assisting St. Kitts and Nevis. He said that Mr. Sai's presence in the Federation will be very significant.
His coming is represent a new era for our medical cooperation. Because later last year we have signed an agreement for the renal failure disease control project. And we are happy to say that after several months of preparation, our new project manager, Mr. Tsai, have arrived at early April. And all the project will begin from this month, and this project will extend to 3 years.
Minister Hamilton thanked Ambassador Shu and the government and people of Taiwan for such an important initiative, noting that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis appreciates and welcomes the assistance. Atlas Plantation Inn is currently undergoing renovation and expansion and as such has been closed until further notice. Co-owner Nancy Lowell told ZIZ News that renovation process will be too long to accommodate guests or staff. She said in the meantime the company has been helping staff members to find other jobs while the resort undergoes its expansion. Ms. Lowell said at this time it's too early to say how long the renovation will take or what will happen afterwards, but they are optimistic that Atlas will carry on. She noted that Atlas Plantation has been contributing to St. Kitts for 28 years and has employed many local staff members. She said that they are making every effort to ensure they maintain a part of the St. Kitts tourism sector, and more information will be announced in the future. After the break, senior police officers undergo advanced security screening. and tourism officials from St. Kitts and Nevis hold joint meeting. We'll tell you more when we come back. Beginning this week, all senior officers of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force will undergo advanced security screening, which includes the newly introduced polygraph test. Over the past few months, all recruits in training class 41 were screened using polygraph technology. The testing forms part of the new polygraph technology recruiting and selection process. All other officers within the police service will also be screened. According to Commissioner Quealy, every officer will be screened to ensure continued suitability for their current and future assignments within the police service. The Commissioner said, quote, "We will employ a mix of advanced screening protocols which are in line with best practices internationally," end quote. Aside from the forensic polygraph examination, psychometric assessment will be given to determine mental suitability. The boards of directors of the St. Kitts Tourism Authority and the Nevis Tourism Authority came together recently at the Ocean Terrace Inn for its first joint meeting. The meeting, according to tourism officials, provided both boards the opportunity to promote the twin islands of St. Kitts and Nevis together as a premier tourist destination. Chairman of the Board of Directors for the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, Nick Menon, said the meeting was a productive one where key marketing policy initiatives were discussed, along with the need to develop a stronger partnership to effectively meet the demands of today's value-driven consumers. At the combined board meeting, directors were also briefed on various activities and examined specific ways to develop a strong partnership to more effectively combine resources to attract more visitors. The St. Kitts Tourism Authority and the Nevis Tourism Authority are agencies specifically responsible for marketing and promotion of the islands. As the University of the Virgin Islands celebrates its Emerald Anniversary, it is undertaking a new initiative, 55 for 55, the Great Alumni Challenge, which encourages UVI alumni to achieve a 55% alumni giving rate. This is being done in honor of the institution's 55th anniversary. Locally, alumni are also being encouraged to donate towards academic scholarships for any local individual who is attending or interested in enrolling at the university. ZIZ News spoke with President of the UVI Alumni Association St. Kitts Chapter, St. Clair Hodge, who outlined how persons can donate to the institution.
We have several different options. The easiest and most popular is online. We have a link via uvi.edu where you can actually give, use your credit card, your debit card, and make a donation. This donation then is housed by the university, and then once the process is completed, sometime in September, it will be governed by the institutional advancement, where they will actually select individuals who will be awarded the scholarship.
Hodge explained how the recipients of the scholarships will be chosen.
The process will be pretty simple. You write an essay, you submit the application, it will be reviewed, not necessarily by us alone here in St. Kitts, but it will be overseen by us in St. Kitts, and then the selection process will take its course. Let's say, for example, that the alumni pulled together and we donated $20,000 US dollars. 2 persons will be selected, and that fund will be divided equally. So it'll be $10,000 per person, and that will go directly to their tuition and fees. So it's not as if they would get it directly in their hand, but it would be transferred directly to their account to pay.
He said this year there is an additional incentive for alumni who donate $55 US or more.
Being that it's 55 years, any alumni who donates $55 US or more to the scholarship fund or to UVI is eligible to win a trip for 2 to Washington, D.C. and tickets to the new Smithsonian Museum. So that's a weekend trip in Washington, D.C., all expenses paid for, ticket, hotel, and tickets to the Smithsonian Museum. So it's a little bit of impetus for us to even give a little bit more. Of course, we'll take the $1, the $5. We're happy for the contributions. But if you want to qualify for this promotion, minimum $55 US or more.
According to Hodge, donations will be accepted until September 2017. Upon completion of the donation process, persons will be invited to apply for the scholarships, which will be awarded shortly afterwards. The St. Kitts Cooperative Credit Union (SKCCU) launched the first two in a series of products during a ceremony at its Bladen Development branch on Tuesday. The products are the Instant Credit Loan (ICL) and the Easy Cash Line of Credit. During his address, Director of the SKCCU Board, Pierre Borin, encouraged all persons interested in the new products to view them as a positive and enlightening change.
This product, once you get the funds, think of it as a path out to the challenges that you have to a bright, wonderful morning, okay?
Borin also encouraged the staff of SKCCU to be a guide to each and every customer.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. And it's not going to get any easier. I see a queue outside downstairs. You're going to have lots of people that are coming in with all types of issues, and they just want to get the money and go. But talk with them. You are responsible to guide them in selecting the best one.
Media representatives and members of the public and private sector were given an opportunity to ask questions and engage with credit union officials at the end of the loan product launch ceremony. Coming up, St. Lucia government to launch program to assist hotel workers. The details when we come back. St. Lucia's Minister of Tourism says the cabinet is in search of ways to mitigate the negative implications of employment in the hotel industry. More in this HTS St. Lucia report.
In his collection of prose, White Egrets, late Nobel laureate Sir Derek Walcott referred to hotel developments as, quote, these new plantations by the sea, a slavery without chains, with no blood spilt, just chain link fences and signs, the new degradations, end quote. Sir Derek clearly shows his disdain for hotels and possibly the negative social and environmental implications of such developments, notwithstanding the fact that the tourism industry is being touted as the island's economic driver. St. Lucia's reliance on the sector has also come under scrutiny. It has often been lamented in the public sphere that in the case of Soufrière, for example, a vast majority of single mothers are employed with the surrounding holiday resorts. This has, according to critics, resulted in less time spent with their children due to the long hours these single mothers spend at their respective places of employment. It has been linked to the prevalence of older siblings, despite not being adults, being left to raise their younger brothers and sisters on their own. Tourism Minister Dominic Fede says the social implications of tourism development cannot and should not be ignored. As such, the current United Workers' Party administration will be embarking on various initiatives to ease the strain on hotel workers.
Our cabinet is looking at this very seriously, that before this administration finishes this term, you will see a few things. Tourism transportation improve for employees. We will have access to the economic centers for potential employees and existing employees in rural communities. And we will also work with existing daycare centers to ensure that we have some kind of program that we work together on, so that single mothers who are looking at working in the industry would feel an ease to do so, because there would be a sufficient infrastructure placed in their community so that they can go off and get the kind of revenues and seek employment for their families.
Individuals employed at hotels on island have often complained of the lack of transportation to their respective homes after completing late-night shifts. The subject of unionization for hotel employees has often been a topic of debate. So, is the minister in favor of hotel workers joining trade unions?
Well, that will be a decision for the employees of the respective organizations. Trade unions can be good and they can be bad. So it is really up to the individual employees. They are in a better position to see how their employers engage them and see if they're comfortable with the working conditions and the salaries that they receive. That's really and truly up to them.
A 2016 SLHTA census on the accommodation sector revealed that there are over 60 properties on island employing between 8 and 10,000 locals. Miguel Favory, HTS News Force.
Coming up, Trump's border wall faces legal battles over private land. The details when we return. Companies hoping to build President Donald Trump's wall on the U.S.-Mexico border have until the end of Tuesday to submit their proposals. But before the construction can begin, government must acquire land along the border that's currently privately owned, a move that might lead to legal battles. More in this report.
In a town where a street bears their family name, the Flores settled more than 100 years ago. They founded a community along this crook of the Rio Grande River, just across from Mexico.
We're migrants ourselves, and we used to plant this. We used to have pea cotton here, corn, cabbage, lettuce, everything.
Aurora Flores Trigo is among 58 heirs to her grandmother's land. In January, she received a letter entitled A Declaration of Taking from the U.S. government, stating they were going to seize nearly 5,000 square meters in order to build a border wall. The letter offered $2,900 US in compensation, about the price of a used car.
If we divide that number to 58, we're going to get $50 each.
Not enough to replace the land's sentimental value. These fields once hosted holiday gatherings. A tree marks the place where Flores' grandfather died.
That's why we say we have so many memories, but these people's not going to care about that.
In the U.S., the government has power to take over private property for compelling public reasons. President Trump's budget includes hiring 20 U.S. attorneys dedicated to borderland acquisition, a sign the administration is ratcheting up for a legal fight against resistant landowners.
Whatever he's doing it for the best of the American people. Well, he's destroying some of us.
The border by Los Ebanos has been a hot spot for unauthorized crossings in the past.
Migrants cross the river using rafts, and then it is a scramble up these steep U.S. banks. In this spot, using this irrigation hose structure for support. So you do see the need for more border security here, but you also see how difficult it would be to build a border wall. All this land surrounding the riverbanks is quickly eroding.
On top of this disintegrating land lives Rosa Maria Perez, a Mexican immigrant. Her home is mere meters from the river. She tells me in half a year, the cliff at the river's edge has degraded by 2 meters. She thinks it would be physically impossible to build a wall here. Instead, she says more Border Patrol agents and electronic surveillance could be enough to keep criminal traffickers out. As for the migrant families seeking opportunity in the U.S., most people in this border region agree.
There's no way that we're going to stop the people from crossing. You can't stop them, I can't stop them, Trump cannot stop them.
But Trump has promised to stop them. The question is, at what cost? Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera, Los Ebanos, Texas.
South Africa President Jacob Zuma dismissed Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan last week as part of the cabinet reshuffle. The move was followed by South Africa's credit rating being downgraded to junk status. This move is now threatening to split his ruling anchor party. We hear more in this report.
This small group in Pretoria is calling for an end to greed and corruption in government. These demonstrators say President Jacob Zuma is responsible. Protests began last week. They say it's just the beginning.
Small clique of people supported by a faction in the ANC and supported by the president have taken over strategic institutions, including our treasury. They have not taken over those institutions to promote the well-being of the country or to promote the well-being of the poor. They've taken them over to promote the well-being of a corrupt elite.
And now the country's credit rating has been downgraded, making it harder for the country to borrow. Ratings agency Standard & Poor's says South Africa is politically risky. That's after President Zuma reshuffled the cabinet last week, firing several ministers, including the much-respected Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. South Africa's currency fell by more than 11%. Then the downgrade pushed it down a further 2 points against the dollar.
I'm here to show the outrage and to vent out what is going on in South Africa. It's very bad for our nation, so I'm here to support it. Not for me, but for the future of the country and our children.
The ruling party's top leadership has been holding meetings with President Zuma, pressing him further on why he fired his ministers. Opposition parties want Parliament to hold a vote of no confidence against Zuma. They're also planning protests, but they may not be as effective as hoped.
We're at a moment now in South Africa where there are such deep divisions within our society that have consistently and persistently not been addressed. That it's going to be really difficult to persuade specifically young, black, poor people to come out on the streets in mass mobilization.
But the pressure's now on the ANC and President Zuma to calm the markets and reassure South Africans that the economy is in safe hands. Famida Miller, Al Jazeera, Johannesburg.
Up next in sports, SKN AAA remembers fallen nationals for their contribution to sport, and China and Finland cooperate before Winter Olympics 2022. Stay tuned. The St. Kitts Nevis Amateur Athletic Association has paid tribute to 4 individuals for their contribution to sport and the nation on a whole. During the recently concluded TDC Inter-School Championship, the SKN AAA made tribute to former Governor General Sir Cuthbert Sebastian, former Governor Sir Probin Innes, long-serving volunteer Adisa Williams, and former coach at Washington Archibald High School, Stedroy Teixeira. Wreaths were laid in their memory, and the attendees stood at attention in observance of a moment of silence. Sir Cuthbert and Sir Probin were honored for their contribution to sport over the years. Williams was a regular volunteer and bartender at SKN AAA sport events, and Stedroy Teixeira was a coach and a physical education teacher at Washington Archibald High School for almost 32 years. Finland is well known for its remarkable performances in winter sports. And so, in efforts to prepare for the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, China is learning and cooperating with Finland to learn from the winter sport dominating country. Hesmar.
May 16, 2011, the Helsinki Market Square. Finns gave their ice hockey team a hero's welcome from the World Championships. Northern Europeans are powerhouses of winter sports, so China wants to learn from the masters. Kunlun Red Star was formed in 2016. It's the only professional Chinese team in the KHL Continental League. So far, it has 11 Finnish players.
Finns can really bring about a lot of knowledge to Chinese hockey when it comes to developing talent, developing players, developing also facilities, rinks, arenas, setting up the junior system there and getting it going.
Kunlun Red Star lost to Jokerit in a KHL match last year. Jokerit's left winger says it's not surprising.
And it's just a sport that everybody watches, and I just grew up with it. It was everything that I knew when I was little was hockey.
Finns have been playing ice hockey for over a century. Training and evaluation are integrated in one system. The country has over 200 clubs. Never give up any ice hockey player is their training theory.
Finns have the system there. We already have the junior system, we have the management system, we have the coaches and the whole system ready.
Finland's Jari Kuri is a 5-time Stanley Cup champion. He believes that China may have great potential when it comes to the population size and physical quality.
Today's ice hockey is a very global game. Now we have Chinese very interesting of the hockey, and so I think we can just need to pass around the information, and they need to learn about this game.
Former NFL quarterback Tim Tebow has joined minor league baseball team, the Columbia Fireflies, this week, making his debut in pro baseball as the team's left fielder. Hesmar.
Well, I'm friends with Mark, and so...
Tim Tebow is shifting gears in his career.
USA Today reports that over the weekend, the former NFL player vowed to give his all in his latest professional sports venture with minor league baseball team, the Columbia Fireflies. Last September, Tebow signed a minor league contract with the New York Mets, went through an instructional league, and took part in spring training last month before getting assigned to the club's Class A affiliate in the South Atlantic League. Tebow, who first played baseball at age 4, said each time he's immersed himself in the game, he's improved.
When we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines. Recapping the top stories, Dennis Michael Morton deputizes while Governor General Sir Tapley Seaton is away. Renal Failure Disease Prevention and Control Project to begin this month. And Atlas Plantation Inn closes down for renovation. And that's the end of the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kyla Barrage. Goodbye.